Hey everybody, you are about to watch the Dr. Jaime Show. I hope you enjoy this episode. Good morning and welcome to the Dr. Jaime Show. I am so happy that you are here with me today. Happy Friday, the day of the week that we have all been waiting for. Welcome to the family, YouTube. So for those of you joining on Facebook, Twitter, BidChat, you're pros at this now. YouTube, it's our first time on YouTube. I don't even know if it's actually working, but you know what? There's numbers moving. It says that we're live, so we'll see if we are live on YouTube as well today. We have a great show ahead of us. We have Dr. Cesar Lara, right? He just looked at me like I was fourth. We have Dr. Cesar Lara here, and we are going to talk about all things weight management. Normally, I would say to you, we're going to talk anti-aging, but I can't use that word anti-aging, or he will give me the evil eye from across the room, and we're going to find out why I can't say anti-aging in a little while. We're going to learn about a ton of different hormones. I was saying in the pre-show, Dr. Lara was telling me how women are not hormonal and we're perfect beings. So today, I'm just kidding. All the guys just signed off. They're like, we're done with this show. No, we're going to learn about the hormones in women. We're going to learn about the hormones in men. And we're going to have a great discussion with him today. He is such an expert. He is so knowledgeable in his field. I can't wait to share his expertise with you today. Do me a couple favors during this pre-show. If you could go to his website, drlaraweightloss.com, find out a little bit about him, find out about his services and support him. You can also go to youtube.com, type in the name Jaime Kulaga and subscribe to my channel. Please do that as well. It helps me. All right, so moving on to the guests coming on the show. Next week, we have Akash Patel back on the show. He was here initially to tell us how to better network, more effectively network, and get into your community. But now he is running for Hillsborough District 1, and we are going to learn about exactly what that means. I get it. It's not a super political show, but this man has supported you guys. He has supported me. He has supported giving us so much knowledge that I want to know why he decided to take this leap. What is he scared of? I want to know some of his fears. Why does he think he can make a difference? And maybe that will spark something in us as to how we can make a difference in our communities as well, and the importance of the role that we play. And I want to learn from him, why is it so important that we speak up and say something to him or to the people that are running our communities? Why is that so important that we actually do speak up and say something? So we're going to learn that next week. Then on the 1st, my birthday, we are going to have Chris Dennert here. He is not only a great businessman, but he is also my friend, and he will be here with Dennert Media. And then we have Andreas Detlaf, and he is with New Image Medical. These men are millionaires, and they are going to sit here during the Millionaire Hour, and they're going to tell us what millionaires do differently. I'm going to ask them questions about car leases. We've been reading the Dave Ramsey book together, right? We've learned leasing is not so good. Well, maybe one of them does. Maybe one of them doesn't lease. Should we do it? Should we not? I want their take on it. I want their take on saving. Okay, so what if we're in our 30s? Do we really need to save for retirement? What if we want to invest in our business instead? What's the right thing to do? So we're going to learn so much from them on how to become a millionaire and stay a millionaire. What do millionaires do different? That's what you're going to learn. Okay, and then on 9/8, we're going to have Dr. Erica Lopez here. She is a chiropractor. I hope she brings little demos for us as well. And then on the 15th, we have Debbie Lane, who Dr. Lara referred to me, and she is a hypnotist, hypnosis expert is what I was going to say. And Wes is saying she's going to hypnotize me on the show, and I'm saying no, it's not going to happen. So maybe she can do that to you guys, like BidChat and Facebook and Twitter. You are sleepy, no. You want to watch the show, go to youtube.com, type in the name Jaime Kulaga, subscribe to her channel. Wes is saying, no, maybe I can get her to brainwash you guys, I don't know. And then on the 22nd, we have Karen Rowe here. She is a New York Times, or let me get this right, a #1 international best-selling author and owner of Front Row Seat. She can ghostwrite a book in 3 days. Let me say that again. She can ghostwrite a book in 3 days. Holy cow, some of us it takes a lifetime to write a book. She can do it in 3 days for you. So we're gonna hear exactly what ghostwriting is, and we're gonna find out if it's considered cheating too. That is one of the questions we'll be asking her. On the 29th, Dr. Dawn McLaughlin is going to be here, and she is the food freedom coach, and we're going to learn about different eating disorders and how to overcome them. That's going to be a really fun segment, so send in your questions for any of our guests now, and I will be sure to ask them on the show. Okay, so some general updates for you. First and foremost, happy anniversary, Dr. Jaime. Oh, thank you. So last week, if you were with us, you would learn that it was my 1-year anniversary. The guest said, how long have you been doing this show for? And I was like, oh my God, today's 1 year. So I missed my own anniversary. I am not mad at myself. I am letting it go. And so I'm celebrating my belated anniversary with you right here, right now. My husband was kind enough this morning to get me an anniversary balloon. No photos, please. No photos, please. And so I wrote myself a little card. Okay. Happy 1-year anniversary, Dr. Jaime. I will tell you what it says. Jaime, you have done a great job being consistent and never giving up. Keep moving forward. XO yourself. See, I would cry if I wasn't on camera, but why I wrote that is because I think it's important sometimes for you to stop and say how good you're doing. So are you being consistent with being a mom? Are you being consistent with being a dad? Are you showing up to work every day? Are you pressing on even when times are tough? Are you being consistent? Are you doing your best to move forward? Good job. I know it's what you're supposed to do, but maybe once in a while you could stop and be proud of yourself. So today I am proud of me, and I hope that today you can find a reason to be proud of you. So moving on, I will save this card forever. Moving on, iTunes. Okay, for those of you just joining us, we are now on iTunes. Please do me a favor. If you could go to the podcast app on your phone and type in my name, or go to iTunes, type in Jaime Kulaga, click on my face and hit subscribe. That would be awesome for me. Every like, every subscribe, every follow does so much for me, my family, the show, for you. So please keep those subscribes coming. I have some good news, and I thought I was going to be able to share with you today. I kind of gave you a little hint last week. They said I can't say anything just yet, so I will let you know that I will be on my way to New York very soon. That's all I can say, unless I want to be fined $100,000. I don't have it. Dr. Lara, do you have $100,000 to give me cash right now? He's saying no. So in that case, I can't tell you, but I want to. And if this wasn't all over the internet, I would tell you. But I can't today, but I can tell you I'm hoping next week. So, okay, so I want to give you a little lesson today. So usually we pick up the book and we read like a little, little synopsis of something in the book. We have been reading The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and I do think you should order a copy of his book. After you order a copy of my book, The Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment, go to Amazon right now, type it in. Okay, awkward moment. Okay, great. So, but I do want to share a moment with you. So I was talking 2 weeks ago to the CEO of Two Maids and a Mop. A lot of you know I own Two Maids and a Mop. It's a residential cleaning company right here in Tampa, and I'm the area developer for Florida. So I was talking to the CEO of Two Maids and a Mop, Ron Holt, and we just somehow got into a conversation. He says, you know what, Jaime? He's like, I always have like in my mind that somebody is watching me. That I'm always being watched, not in like a weird paranoid way, but more so like I need to have integrity everywhere I go. So it's not just when he's walking in the mall or doing something with the business, does he act, or, you know, I hate to use that word act, but even when he's in his own home, even when he's in his office and nobody's in his office except for him, he always pictures as if people are watching him. So it makes him be a man of integrity at all times. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the way that you're living your life, and even behind closed doors, when someone would never know it was you that did something wrong, act as if somebody is watching you. And maybe that will change the way that you act and the way that you behave. So keep that in mind over the course of the next couple of weeks. I thought that was really powerful. I know I try to do that. I try to live with integrity. I know that what I tell my clients to do, I try to do it. So I know the trials and tribulations that they're going through, you know, when they're trying to achieve goals, it's not easy. So I set goals for myself. I try to always do that. So I want you to try to do those things too. All right, moving on, let's see, advertisement. So we're gonna start looking into advertisements for the Dr. Jaime Show. You now know we have the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience. These are very short clips. After the show, I hold the guests for 5 minutes and they give us a 5-minute rundown that goes on the audio version of the Dr. Jaime Show. And it's super fun and you get their expertise in 5 minutes or less. And then during the week, I throw out a couple fun, quick tips for you as well on that audio experience. If you're looking to advertise with the Dr. Jaime Show, go to dr@drjaimek.com and shoot me an email and we'll see if you are a good fit. I know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for the man that's there that you can't see right now. Dr. Cesar Lara, come on out. I need music. Some kind of like funky music. Hello, hello. Yeah, thank you. Take a seat. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so before we begin the show, I always have you explain to the guests a little something weird, bizarre, fun that nobody knows about you or very few people know. Can you share something with us?
Oh, let's see. So perhaps a lot of my close friends may know this already, but I don't know if a lot of the community knows, but
Okay.
I love to dance.
Okay.
And so one of my passions and joys in life is to actually get on the floor and I could dance anything that basically has a music to it. So whether it's Polish music, Greek music, obviously Latin music, it's a given, but I love to dance and I love the rhythm of just the synchronicity of what it does to your body.
I love it. If I would have known, I would have had some Polish music,
polka.
some polka in the background for Dr. Lara to show us his moves. So next time he's on the show, he'll be doing the polka.
Yep.
So I love it. I love it. Excellent. And dancing's so good for you.
Yes.
It's like you're not only burning calories, but you just feel happy.
Yep.
So I don't know, we have a friend, Edwin, that always comes over. Edwin, I don't know if you're watching right now, but he is a broker and a realtor. And we have so much fun in this house. And you see how there's like different floors,
Yes.
right? Well, we dance in all of them. So he's like, if I were to sell your house, I would say there are multiple dance floors throughout. So Edwin, I hope that brightened up your morning if you're listening right now. Okay, so then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to switch over to this quote right here. And I'm going to read it to all of you, and then you tell us whether you agree with the quote or disagree with the quote. You can absolutely disagree with it. You just have to tell us why.
Yes.
All right, so today's quote, Facebook, VidChat, Twitter, and YouTube, is when it comes to staying young, a mind lift beats a facelift any day. Agree or disagree? Why?
I completely agree.
Why?
I think that our thoughts is what creates our reality.
Okay.
And so when, it's not uncommon that we see someone that from the perception of what we're seeing them, we think that they are beautiful, but yet when you talk to them, they do not see themselves as being beautiful. And so there's a dysfunctionality between the perceptions. And of course, you had just expressed about a show that's coming up about eating disorders.
Yes.
And that's a prime example where there's a dysfunction between being able to appreciate your beauty, which is internal, by continually picking on the external factors that unfortunately make you feel less than beautiful. So I completely agree. I don't think that a facelift is what creates the beauty. I think a facelift can potentially complement something, but what creates the beauty inside of you is for you to find it and appreciate it and begin to express it. So the thought, the mind, the perception that you have is what creates that joyful reality.
I completely agree. I think you could get 100 facelifts. If you still feel like crap inside, you're going to walk out with a really hurt face and a lot of pain inside too. I even commenting, I see all these beautiful girls that come to me for coaching, and sometimes they really struggle with confidence. And I'll say I was there at one point too. So I've really taken the past few years to do everything that I can to not compare myself. We're in a society of compare.
Yes.
And there is pressure as a girl to consistently compare yourself to different things personally and in business, and that can eat at you. Until you let that go, trust me, it took a while myself, you don't really feel happy inside. So you can see the most beautiful girl in the whole world, and then she might have the worst confidence and thinks she's so ugly or so fat or so stupid or It's amazing.
And unfortunately, in our society, especially females, tend to really have a significant amount of messages that continually tell them that they're not good enough.
Yes.
And so they're comparing themselves to pictures in magazines which are not real.
Yep.
And subsequently, they continue to feel undermined. And so I find, of course, I grew up with 4 sisters, so always I'm very much sensitive to the female spirit, because that's really what the reason why I'm here.
Yes.
If it wasn't for my mother, I wouldn't be here. So.
I love that. You all remember that. If it wasn't for women, you wouldn't be here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Tell us a little bit about, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are, where they're getting their information from. Are you a dad? Do you have pets? Did you go to school? Who are you?
So I'm a medical doctor, and I am a board-certified family physician originally, with subsequent evolutionary degrees in obesity medicine. So I'm board-certified in obesity medicine and have advanced degrees in advanced hormone replacement. Okay. Having said that, the real me, outside of this black
the boogie
box,
woogie,
the
polka
boogie,
dancing,
yes,
Latin.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a father of 3 amazing children. I have 2 boys and a girl. The youngest is my girl, and that's Zoe.
Okay.
She's 20 years of age. Okay. And then I have Julio, that's in New York. He's a composer of music, electronic music. And I have Marcus, my number 2, who's in the entrepreneur experience in his life. Nice. So he's helping me in my business, as he's also developing other experiences in the business world for himself. I've been married for 33 years, going on 34, to my amazing wife, Penelope. And, you know, we have been blessed with this fortunate life. Historically, I was born in Guatemala, and Central America, came from very humble beginnings, but was fortunate to be brought into this world by 2 amazing parents who, my mother, I always think of her as the psychologist of the family. She always listens. She always, you know, as she always used to tell me, don't talk too much, learn to listen. My father is more of a philosopher, which tends to express himself in a more uninhibited way. And so between those 2 amazing beings, we were able to come from a very humble beginning in Central America and come to the United States when I was 11, and then eventually we evolved and became educated and became who we are today. I have 4 amazing sisters, all of them live in Chicago, and so I've been blessed with women all my life as far as my nurturing experience. I was blessed with having a significant amount of confidence, and at this point in my life, I have continued to evolve. So I originally started as a family doctor, and approximately 15 years into a very successful career, being involved in the formulation of health policy at the different hospitals like Morton Plant, Miss Anita, Miss Countryside. I came to the realization that I wasn't really effectively changing my patients' lives. I was more or less maintaining the status quo, and I really wanted to impact a person's life.
Do something different.
By being able to empower them so that they can realize that they have a choice to the life that they want to live. And hence, that's where I started focusing on lifestyle modification. So weight management became a very easy fit, because if you learn how to eat, just like historically, we've been told by our grandmothers many times, you are what you eat. There could not be
that is true.
Any more right than that. And so I think nutrition and the choices that we make begin to color our reality as far as our health. And so in that journey, I started in weight management, and have been very successful in being able to impact thousands of lives over the last 15 years at that level.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here.
That's awesome. Now he's here. The best part of his whole journey is happening right here today. He's on the Dr. Jaime Show. He's waited 30-something years for this moment. Yes. Congratulations. You know, but you are what you eat. We had, I believe it was Abigail that said it when she was on here. She was a nutritionist with the Soul of Health. And I think it was her. And she had said, like, all the time, your cells are being recreated on your body. She's like, so they recreate by what you're eating. So if you're eating a bunch of crap, you're rebuilding yourself into crap. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So you definitely are what you eat. Yes. I want to comment a moment on your story. So I was really intently listening to his story and how he got started, and I want you to take note of something. There's a chapter in my book that says something along the lines of being really cautious the way that you tell your story. So he could have sat here and been like, you know, I grew up in poverty, it was awful, my parents were always fighting, my dad is speaking up, yelling at everyone because he's this philosopher, and da-da-da. But instead of doing that, that's a representation of this man. He sits back and he said, I had very humble upbringings. My dad was a philosopher and, you know, chose to speak up at times. But do you see the difference between the way he could have told his story and the way he chose to tell his story? I want you to keep that in mind when you're going around at the office telling about your past or telling friends and family and bosses and professionals. Be very cognizant in the word choice that you're using, because it is a representation of you, where you came from. This man, I think, is now, for me, my perception is a humble man, a grateful man, a man that can speak up. He learned that from his father, but at the same time listen. He learned that from his mother, as opposed to, wow, a man that came from this area where, you know, he hates where he lived in his country, or, you know, he must have had a terrible relationship with his father. The word choices that he used changes our perception. So be cognizant of that, because some people tell their story, not on the show, but to me, and they're like, it's just really negative about their past. So take that as my one tip to you. Okay, all right, so let's move right into the questions. Okay, so you told us a little bit about how you got into weight management. The show is going to be on weight management today. What does that mean?
So weight management is really the realization that in our obesogenic society, and that word is a very interesting word. Okay. Obesogenic comes from the word obesity, which basically means significant amount of excess weight. And when you look at our society, we literally live in a society that tends to support, encourage, and promote obesity as a disease. Yeah. So anything from when you look at the coloring that is added to the food, if you read the ingredients on a piece of bread, don't be surprised that there's 35 ingredients, when the reality
and you can't, and I don't know the name of one of them. Like, I can't even sound out some of the names of these ingredients.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we're literally poisoning ourselves with the types of nutrients that are around us. Many of the nutrients, whether it's animal based or plant-based, are full of pesticides, are full of antibiotics, are full of even the animals that have given their lives for our nurturing do not necessarily are given the appropriate spiritual transcendence to be able to feed us. And many times, since we live in such a fast-paced society, we tend to at the same time not be appreciative of what we're eating, even when we're eating it. So from my perspective, weight management really implies, how do we learn what is working in our body, what is not working in our body? Let's take a look at our physical being, at our cellular function, our physiology, and then let's connect that to the society that we live in. And then from those 2 points of view, how can we achieve a more balanced perspective in life? So for example, you know, the word diet is a dirty word for me. Okay? It's a dirty
Don't say it. Don't say the F word or diet.
Or diet. So I like to use the word nutritional plan, because nutritional plan implies that you're wanting to reach a nutritional state that is balanced. So one of the things that I try to educate my patients and encourage them is that there's no such thing as I could never have this. Because whenever you deny yourself for something, you just want a lot more of it.
Yes, you do.
So the management of weight is really the management of your health. Because as you begin to understand that what you put in your mouth, for example, a lot of us do not chew enough times. So we swallow our food many times and digest it.
Especially when we're starving. That's the worst thing, is to get to starving, because then you'll eat anything in sight. It doesn't matter how unhealthy it is, and you scarf it down.
Exactly. And the scarfing down, subsequently, it takes approximately 20 minutes for your stomach to actually connect to the brain and say, I'm full. So if we basically eat everything and more within 10 minutes, now we're stuffed.
Yep.
Now we feel the message, but it's too late. We overate. And so I think weight management really implies something that is more profound. It has to do with, of course, the understanding of where food comes from, the understanding what effects food have in your body, the understanding of what stress and how those hormones of stress affect your hunger levels and affect your whole experience in life, and really begins to transcend you into a lifestyle that actually can create some balance. So for me, management implies all those things rather than just eat this, don't eat that, and make sure you exercise every day. Okay. I think the simplicity of what traditionally, how our medical profession historically has looked at excess weight has been more trying to actually make the victims, which are those people that have the disease, feel as if they're responsible for the disease because somehow or other they have a weakness in their mind. The reality is that it is a biological problem, it's a metabolic condition, and it is affected by many different factors. And of course, if you live in a society where you make very little money and you basically go to the grocery store and you basically read this Cheerios, for example, and it says, oh, good for your heart. People buy it because they think they're buying something good, but the reality is they're eating sugar.
Good to know. As I sit there with 2 boxes of Cheerios in my, okay. I was tricked by the heart Cheerios. You tricked me. There was a heart on the box. Okay, so there's a lot to weight management. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. You talked about nutrition. You talked about diet's not a good word. Now, what if we want to kind of lose weight a little bit quickly? Can we go on that 500 calorie diet? Yes,
no. The reality is that if you focus just on the idea of losing weight, you could literally go ahead and have a potato soup for breakfast, potato soup for lunch, potato soup for dinner, and we're going to call that the new fat diet. It's going to be called Dr. Lara's new potato soup diet.
Nice,
okay?
Nice.
And we can write a book on it.
If you act now, we'll send you 2 cans of soup for the cost of 1.
That's right. And so that will definitely help you lose weight, but at what cost? First of all, you're losing muscle mass. Secondarily, it's not sustainable. Third of all, it's not nutritional. And so subsequently, you're going to drop 15, 20 pounds in maybe 3 to 4 weeks, but it's not sustainable and it's not going to help you become healthy.
Doesn't that kind of mess with your metabolism?
Absolutely.
I know this is off the cuff,
Absolutely.
but
No.
I've heard that before, is like when you starve yourself, that messes with your metabolism, and so
Absolutely.
does.
So it's not uncommon. I would say at least 25% of my patients that are part of my program, 25% of it do not eat breakfast. Okay, and so they tend to, because of those little details, tend to basically send a message to the brain that says, hey, I'm starving. The body tries to protect itself, so it tries to become conservative. It does that by being able to decrease its metabolism, which ultimately makes you be a hybrid type of an engine, which means that you literally do not need a lot of calories to survive, so you tend to pack on the weight.
So hybrids are good for cars, not good for your body.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So and then when you think about a 500 calorie diet, it's really the type of diet that is going to make you lose a lot of muscle. Muscle is what's considered in medical terms lean body mass. Lean body mass is directly related to your health. So as you begin to drop weight, but you drop the wrong kind of weight, which means you're dropping your muscle mass.
Oh, no.
Now you're decreasing your metabolism. And then once you finish, as soon as you smell food, guess what? You're gaining the weight back, and plus more. So the intention is really to make adjustments in a very balanced nutritional perspective. Another misunderstanding that unfortunately is part of our social upbringing, at least for the last 15 years, is that fat is bad for you. So, it was the days of Eisenhower where they started this anti-fat campaign, and it was not based on real science. And so subsequently, between the 1950s and now, you see that there used to be a 12 to 13% excess weight or obesity rate in the United States. Now we're looking at a more like 35, 40% obesity rate, with at least half of our society being pre-diabetic or diabetic. And it's all due to one main reason. When you take the fat away from food, you got to put something else to create flavor, and that's where all the sugars come out. So that's why the better perspective on food is to actually recognize that it's the sugar that is creating the disease, because the sugar increases your insulin. When you increase your insulin, now you're hungry 2 hours later. When you continually have this syndrome, not only are you going to become insulin resistant, but you're going to develop all kinds of cellular dysfunction that is going to lead to obesity, heart disease, strokes, cancer, and so the specifics of a 500 calorie diet are literally not something that's consistent with good health. You may drop your weight, and you may drop, as I've seen some signs.
You may drop your muscle weight.
That's right. It's because I see the signs all over the place. 40 pounds in 40 days, and I'm thinking, oh my God.
yes.
I pray for people that they would, you know, be awakened to the reality that there is no quick fix. Something that took you years to create,
Yes.
you have to make an adjustment in your
And that's the thing.
yourself.
It takes time to create that weight. So if you gain 40 pounds, you're probably not gaining 40 pounds between today and like 4 weeks from now. That took time.
Yes.
So even though it's not good to be 40 pounds overweight, it like gave your heart time to warm up to that.
Yes.
So if you lose 40 pounds in like a month and a half, that's gotta like hurt. I mean, your heart's not used to such a like quick change.
There's liver dysfunction, there's potential kidney issues. Of course, you're losing a whole bunch of lean body mass, which subsequent to losing that, now you messed up your metabolism. And you hear people say that it's like, hey, I lost weight so good the first time. Now I have a hard time losing. Yes, because you messed up your metabolism.
Wow.
So it's really a challenging experience.
Thank you. Those are awesome tips. Okay, all right. So moving on here. Okay, then. So what is an ideal weight?
So there's no such thing in my way of looking at it as an ideal weight, because ideal weight is usually associated with some type of a picture or some type of a graph. What it comes down to is what is your healthy weight.
Okay.
So I like my patients to begin to think in terms of healthiness as they begin to transition themselves into a nice balanced lifestyle.
Okay.
And so a healthy weight is really considered for females their percentage of body fat. Again, we're talking about fat because fat is healthy. Remember that your brain is made of mostly fat. Keep in mind that every hormone in your body is basically dependent on being created from cholesterol, which is fat. So if you have no cholesterol, you got no fat, you're not going to have hormones. If you have no hormones, your brain's not going to function well, and of course you're going to be going down the hill. So subsequently,
I wish when I ate, instead of going here, it would go here. Like it just, when I have like this huge brain.
So one of the biggest misconceptions is that you look at a lot of people who literally think that cutting down the fat is really the way to become healthy. And I think that it's important for us to understand that fat is a healthy experience in our lives, and so eventually, subsequent to learning how to release your excess weight and reaching a healthy weight, and the healthy weight is defined in females, percentage of body fat healthy is considered to be an average of 25%.
Okay.
So 25% of a female's body should be consistent with a percentage, that's the percentage of body fat.
Okay.
In males, it's about 15%. 15 to 20%. Of course, that is adjusted. So if a woman has larger breasts, has a little more curves, then she may be blessed with having a 30% body fat. But a female that is actually at a 12% body fat is really someone that's just doing it temporarily for a body show, or is actually ill. So percentage of body fat is the way to be able to actually understand how much weight do I need to lose.
So percentage of body fat is what we need to know. We don't need to focus on this number of this ideal weight. Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, so we talked a little bit. I want to make sure that we stay on time here, so I'm going to go ahead and skip some of these here. Okay, so now I want to talk health here because so many viewers have talked to me about this, clients have talked to me about this. We're going to talk strictly health right now. So what role does the thyroid play in weight gain? So all of you people with thyroid issues or concern about them, listen up right here. What does the thyroid play in weight gain?
So thyroid is one of the most central hormones in terms of weight gain. And what the thyroid does, first of all, the thyroid is in your neck. And the thyroid is basically responsible for maintaining the metabolism of the body. The metabolism of the body is really how many calories your body burns per hour, per minute, per day, and so it's directly connected to that. It's also directly connected to making sure that every message between your brain and every other cell in your body and between cells themselves takes place. So it's actually the traffic cop for every cell in your body. So when you have a thyroid that is not optimal, that is actually underworking, then your body's going to feel sluggish. You're going to tend to gain weight easy. You're not going to feel well. Now, so the thyroid plays a critical role. Unfortunately,
does it play a critical role in emotion too, like depression?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can see why, because if suddenly you have a sluggish connection between between the cells communicating with one another, that means that everything's lower, and if you don't feel energy, if you don't feel like you're getting adequate sleep, if you feel that you're gaining weight and emotionally, that begins to also get affected. Okay,
great.
So the interesting part about it is that in traditional in the way that I was trained traditionally in our medical profession, we tend to look mostly at either you're sick or you're healthy.
Okay.
And
no black and white.
No, it is black and white. So either you're sick or you're healthy. Unfortunately, the reality is that a lot of people may actually have a sluggish thyroid, but it's still within the range of normal. So when they go to their doctors and they say something like, I feel tired, I feel sluggish, my hair is beginning to fall, I really am not eating that much, I'm trying to lose weight, but I cannot seem to get any of this weight off, instead I keep gaining it, I think something's wrong with my thyroid. Intuitively, patients know that there's something going on.
Yes.
But as physicians, we've been trained, no, you're in the range, you're normal, but you know what I'll do? I'll give you an antidepressant because you probably need a little something to help you emotionally. The reality is that if you tend to look at thyroid more as a functional perspective, you can understand that if normal is from here to here, or from the perspective of our viewers, is probably from here to here, you realize that if you're at the lower quadrant of normal, you're going to actually have a significantly lower energy, your metabolism is going to be lower, and you're going to have a lot more difficulty being able to release the excess weight. So subsequently, being able to adjust the thyroid can actually improve your metabolism, can decrease your hair loss, can improve your energy, can improve your depression, can actually prevent cardiovascular disease, and so it's significant. So one of the most important little things that we have in the neck is called the thyroid, and it's definitely critical in our livelihood and our ability to maintain optimal health.
So what would someone do if they go to their family physician, maybe they love this guy, they go there for him for everything, and he says, yeah, your thyroid's kind of on the lower end, but you're still within range, you're okay, but she feels like crap. What does she do now? Is it just like, all right, I'll take the antidepressant, hopefully it works?
Well, hopefully they can have a good conversation with the doctor and say, I really would like to feel better. Can you please consider giving me a little bit of a therapy in terms of that, because I don't want to be at the lower end. And of course, it's a negotiation experience. Hopefully the doctor is sensitive enough and understands enough, he can agree to that, or she can agree to that. If not, then perhaps it's time to get a second opinion. Because there is, the fact of the matter is that if your thyroid is in the lower quadrant of normal, give it another year or two, then you're going to be definitely sick. But by then you had to suffer and had to have now the consequences of it not being treated earlier.
So speak up. That's what I'm hearing. Speak up to your doctor. Speak up to your doctor. They speak up. Yes. I actually want to ask you something that I heard probably a few weeks ago at a speaking engagement. They were talking about the thyroid, and they said when you get an X-ray, whatever they're X-raying, how they put that big, you guys know that big like metal heavy thing on us, okay? It doesn't cover your thyroid, and so you need to ask if they have something to cover the thyroid, or they do have it, but you have to ask for it to cover your thyroid. And
especially when you go for dental x-rays, because you're right there, so you really have to request that your neck be covered as well. Because and a lot of times in the dental practices, it's not uncommon that as just a automatic, they get x-rays of the teeth almost like every 6 months, every year. And is there really a need for that? That's another question for another time. But the most important thing is you are getting radiation, so you should definitely recognize that it's going to affect your thyroid.
I go for my 6-month cleaning and x-rays on Monday at 11, just so you guys know. I'm getting it covering my thyroid. Excellent. Good tip. If you take one thing away, take that away, because that could protect your thyroid, and thyroid seems pretty important.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so here's another health question for you. Is being overweight a disease? What medical problems will come from that?
Yes. It's been approximately now 4 years since the AMA has actually concluded and called obesity a medical condition. Okay, so historically, now the fact that finally the AMA was woken up politically to recognize that doesn't mean that it just became a disease. It's been a disease all along. Whether you're looking at diabetes, whether you're looking at osteoarthritis, whether you're looking at heart disease, whether you're looking at hypertension, whether you're looking at strokes, whether you're looking at cancer, there's literally every disease that you can possibly recognize, with the exception of maybe an infection that you picked up from a bug, is associated with or the likelihood of you having that condition is significantly increased when you have a metabolic problem, which is what obesity is. Obesity is a metabolic condition. the actual cells in your body that are around your tummy, in the excess amount of them, are producing what is called inflammatory cytokines. It is the inflammatory cytokines that are directly responsible for causing heart attacks, strokes, and generalized inflammatory conditions. So you can have thyroid dysfunctions, you can have liver dysfunctions, kidney dysfunctions, you name it. It's basically every single disease, with the exception of some infections, is potentially increased.
Started from that almost.
Exactly.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Okay, so here's the last health question before we switch over to hormones here. Is adult onset diabetes curable, or once you have it, you're out of luck?
So adult onset diabetes is definitely curable.
Okay.
And I think that is one of the biggest fallacies that we live within the context of our communities, because we literally have 1/2 of our population in the United States is either pre-diabetic or diabetic. That is huge, okay? And now we're beginning to see kids who are 12 years of age with adult onset diabetes because of the problems associated with the metabolic dysfunction. And yes, once you have diabetes, you will definitely have a condition that is called insulin resistance. So what diabetes is, type 2, which is the adult onset, is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is when your body produces too much insulin, but your cells do not respond to that. Insulin is the #1 fat maker in the body. Okay? So as you can see that as a person is becoming more insulin resistant, now they're becoming diabetic, their body's producing tons of insulin, which is subsequently, instead of taking that energy of food and distributing to the muscles, is literally distributing directly into the fat. So that's why people who are diabetics generally feel tired. They usually have high sugars in the bloodstream, and their body is continually packing on the fat.
And that's why they shouldn't be eating sugar, because their body's already like giving them these huge doses of sugar, right? Insulin is like...
Well, the insulin is actually trying to, so it's the other way around.
Okay.
What's happening is that the nutrition that they follow is so full of sugar that it's basically producing all these great amounts of insulin. So the way to actually heal and to revert diabetes is to actually stop eating sugar. Okay? So what does that mean? Bread, pastas, rice, you know, a lot of the things that typically I say, a lot of the things that come in a bag that were made commercially, you know, those are the things that are basically making us sick. So if we're going to go with a clean diet, I would say anything that is developed from the earth. So if it's plant-based and it comes from the earth, it's okay to eat. If it's basically something that nature is giving us, whether it's a chicken, whether it's fish, whether it's other types of meats, those things would be good. But it's actually the things that are manufactured, that comes in bags, that are full of sugar, that eventually can actually transform. So in my practice, we have diabetics coming in on insulin, taking multiple medications. After they lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, literally their diabetes is resolved.
Yes.
And from a statistical perspective, if you think about that, I said that diabetes is basically a condition where insulin resistance is the primary pathology of what is causing it. If you drop 5% of your body weight, you will decrease your insulin resistance by 50%.
Whoa,
okay?
That's huge. Say that again.
So a 5% decrease in your body weight, if you're overweight, will give you a 50% decrease in your insulin resistance.
It's worth it. It's like, you give me $5 and I'll give you $50.
Exactly.
Do it.
Now the opposite is also true. If you're at a healthy weight or you reached a healthy state, a 5% increase in your weight can be transformed into a 50% increase in your insulin resistance, which is why most people who gain weight is not a linear weight gain. Is usually has a curve. So they say, you know what, I gain weight a little every time, and then all of a sudden I really started packing it up. And that's because insulin resistance became a significant problem at that point, and then they started packing it up.
Oh, okay. So I was going to treat myself for my anniversary to a box of Milk Duds. That is not happening today. No? Okay, he crushed those dreams. Okay, now we're going to make a shift here, the moment you have all been waiting for. Let's talk hormones. So you were saying women are not hormonal and perfect beings earlier in the show. Wink, wink, ladies. He did not say that. Tell us, what are hormones, testosterone? What are they?
So hormones are these magical aspects in our body that literally create optimal health. They are responsible for creating emotions. So when you think in terms of our mental health, of course, you know about the idea of serotonin, dopamine, all of these are hormones. When you think about metabolism, you think about thyroid. When you think about sexual hormones, you have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, to name a few. And so hormones are really this amazing team that we are blessed to have that literally create the ability for us to be colorful, to be unique, to be different, and to have a amazing livelihood in our experience.
Okay, I love it. So I'm going to give you 3 words, and I want you to give in one sentence what these are so that we can understand. Okay, testosterone.
Testosterone is one of the primary hormones for males, and believe it or not, it's also a primary hormone for females. And testosterone is directly related to being able to give us energy, to being able to keep us vital, to being able to allow us to build muscle mass, and to actually have optimistic experiences. So if we did not have any testosterone, we would literally feel dragged out, we would feel like we have all this belly fat, and we would have no ability to have intimacy, because without testosterone, that part of our cells becomes decayed.
Okay, so we need it. All right, progesterone.
Progesterone is literally a female hormone, and it's a female hormone that most females recognize as something that they need in order to have periods. And unfortunately, in our clinical experience, when a female goes through the menopause and stops having periods, most doctors will tell her that she no longer needs progesterone. However, progesterone is necessary to maintain your emotional state. So if you have a perimenopause female who is still having periods but is starting to go through the change, one of the first things she will say is, I don't sleep right, I'm starting to be more forgetful, I'm very emotional, and those are, and of course a little bit of the hot flashes, those are primary symptoms of a deficiency in progesterone. In addition to that, it is the combination of estrogen and progesterone, and specifically the progesterone, that has the ability to protect a female from being able to be a risk factor for breast cancer. So progesterone is very much a balancing experience for estrogen to prevent the development of breast cancer.
Wow, so testosterone, progesterone, both pretty good. All right, last word, and you just said it, estrogen. What is that?
Estrogen is typically known as the female hormone, but again, believe it or not, males need it as much as females. The difference is that females produce estrogen directly from their ovaries, as opposed to males produce estrogen by converting the high amounts of testosterone that they have to estrogen. But we both require estrogen. Estrogen is when women, historically 15 years ago, it was a common practice that all doctors, when a woman became 45, would recommend hormone replacement to prevent heart disease, to prevent all these problems of aging. But then a study came out called the Women's Health Initiative about 15 years ago, which basically showed that the women that were taking these hormones were actually dropping like hotcakes. They were having more heart attacks, more strokes, and developing more breast cancer. So there was this huge news, you can just imagine, all over the country, and then all the women started getting off the hormones. And since that point, the hormones have developed a bad rap. But the reality is that those hormones were Premarin, which comes from the urine of mares or horses, and only 20% of what's in Premarin at most is actually identical to what the woman needs. The other 80% is horse-related hormones, okay? And then the Provera is not really identical to what the woman needs, but it's actually a manufactured product that has been tweaked by the pharmaceutical company, and those two products are the ones that the women were taking within the context of that study. So
got a bad rap out in the media, even though they're great. We need them. They can truly help us, but we saw this one bad seed just magnified.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, so let me see what time it is. Okay, so great. Perimenopause, menopause, andropause. What are these, and how can you help us through these stages of pause?
So perimenopause just implies the beginning of the change in life.
Okay.
So some women begin their change in life in late 30s, the majority of them begin their change in life in the mid-40s.
Okay.
And the change in life begins typically by feeling more tired, more difficulty sleeping, being more forgetful, being more emotional, being triggered a lot easier. So let's say if you were going through your change and you couldn't find your shoes, you might start yelling at him because where are my shoes?
I do that now. I must be going through it now.
And so that's the beginning. So it just means peri. Usually a woman is still at that point, is still having some element of periods, but is beginning to feel all these changes in her body.
Okay.
Menopause is actually when you stop producing estrogen, progesterone, and of course your testosterone is just dropped completely. So at that point, you no longer, your libido decreases, women begin to have more problems with vaginal dryness, they begin to feel more tired, they begin to have more belly fat, and it's not uncommon that a woman would come to us and say something like, you know what, I used to have an excellent weight, and then all of a sudden over the last 8 years, I just started putting on the weight, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong because I'm eating just as healthy, trying to do more exercise, and of course that's all hormonal related. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is that once you begin to produce no hormones, now your risk factors for heart disease goes up, stroke goes up, dementia or Alzheimer's disease goes up, and of course the big one is also osteoporosis. For males, we also have a change in life. And typically you can recognize a male who's going through the change in life because he may get himself a nice new motorcycle at the age of 45 or 50, but hormonally what's really happening in them is that their testosterone levels are dropping like hotcakes. Once their testosterone levels drop, now they have little estrogen, and now their libido goes down, their ability to maintain or sustain an erection is suddenly decreasing, their belly fat begins to go up, they don't feel like doing the things that they always wanted to do, because as males in our society we tend to be, I'm going to cut the grass, or I'm going to go out there and do this. All of a sudden you go through this male change and you don't feel like doing anything. Depression begins to be more of a problem for both males and females as we go through this change. So in males it's called andropause. And in females, it's called perimenopause, which means the beginning of it, or menopause, which is actually you're now definitely no longer producing. Wow. And for both of them, obviously being early and the ability to be evaluated so that they can actually prevent these symptoms from occurring, or more importantly, from preventing the risk factors from really taking place, is something that would be of benefit for both sexes to have themselves evaluated to be able to become optimized in terms of their hormonal balance.
Wow, after hearing like all of the things that these 3 hormones really do for you, to know that there's a point in life when it's almost like ripped of you.
Yes.
It's instantly, I mean, I can't even imagine that drop. So
and another example of that would be a female that all of a sudden maybe was having a lot of bleeding. She went to her gynecologist, they took her estrogen, and they said, we took your ovaries at the same time, because that woman went from basically being able to go 80 miles an hour to suddenly barely going anywhere because she doesn't have any hormones, period.
That is a major pain on the,
yes,
that'll put you in a funk for sure. Okay, all right, so I want to make sure before we close I get to this one question on osteoporosis. Okay, so later in life I know that women face osteoporosis. What is this, and do men face this too?
Yes, men and both men and women have osteoporosis, and osteoporosis literally means the weakening of the bone.
Okay.
Okay, and the bone, as you expressed earlier, that our cells are continually changing, so our cells in the bone are continually rebuilding themselves.
Okay.
But they are dependent on estrogen and testosterone primarily.
Okay.
So once you stop producing estrogen and testosterone, then all of a sudden, so typically you don't see a female or a male in their 30s having osteoporosis.
Right.
However, in the females, the statistics are like this. Every female who turns 50, within her lifetime, 50% of all those females will have osteoporosis.
Whoa.
Okay? And 1/3 of them will develop osteoporotic fractures, and of those, approximately 1/2 will actually end up dying within a year as a consequence of that. So the problem is huge. A simple way to be able to address that is to be able to be put on hormone replacement to prevent the progressive deterioration of the bone, or to actually help build the bone. But it requires more testosterone and estrogen as part of the therapy. And of course with males, we simply put them on testosterone, and they can produce their own estrogen from that conversion. With females, we need to give them a little testosterone, a little estrogen, and of course a little progesterone to create that balance that gives them that symphony-like balancing experience where life becomes beautiful again.
Wow, I love that. Is there, for anyone watching in maybe their 30s, their early 40s, is there anything that they can do now to help prevent osteoporosis? You know, I always picture those commercials when I was like 8 years old of like, women should drink water and it'll help with your, milk, and it will help with your bones. So should I drink a cup of water a day? Milk a day? Should I take a vitamin? What?
So the most important thing in the prevention of osteoporosis is exercise. Because if you're literally exercising, keeping yourself healthy, then that creates strong bones. Okay. Then somewhere around the age of beginning of 40, it's important to start taking vitamin D. Specifically for osteoporosis prevention, vitamin D, think of it as the buses that actually drive the calcium into the bone. Okay. And then the next one, it will be calcium. The little pearl here is that calcium, if you just take it, there's a high risk that it could actually be deposited into your blood vessels, which subsequently can lead to strokes or heart disease.
Not good.
Okay? So what is important is for you to take it with something called K2. K2 is a vitamin. It's vitamin K, and it's K2. And K2 taken with vitamin D and calcium will literally, the K2 will prevent the calcium from being deposited in the arteries or the blood vessels and ensure that the buses, the vitamin D, take it directly into the bone. So I think that it's important for females to take moderate amounts of calcium. I would say somewhere between 800 and 1200 milligrams per day, with at least an average of 5,000 milligrams of vitamin D a day. And
then the K2.
And then the K2 supporting that experience to make sure that it doesn't get deposited. And then that would probably be an optimal way of preventing it. And then, of course, once you start going through the perimenopause, menopause, to consider hormone replacement as part of that experience.
Excellent. I love it. Okay, fabulous. All right, so let's see. We are about at time right now. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I could go on with this man for another hour. He might have to come back. Where can we find out everything about you? So should we send everyone here?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my website.
So if you want to get a hold of this man, you're going to go to drlaraweightloss.com. Regardless, go to his website. Try to follow him if he's got different social medias up on there. Learn about him. Reach out to him. He is a wealth of knowledge. If you could leave the viewers with one sentence of advice, what would that be today?
So, my motto that I try to live by, that my practice is based upon, is visualize, believe, and actualize. And I think that it really takes us into a different pedigree of perspective, because we can talk a lot about vitamins, we can talk a lot about nutrition, we can talk about all these different things. But for me, the most important thing is that you allow yourself to visualize the best that you could be. And subsequent to that, to actually learn to believe. And keep in mind that a belief is nothing more than a thought that is repeated over and over and over and over and over and over again until it finally gets so seated that it becomes a belief system. So if you could visualize yourself being healthy, if you can visualize yourself having a healthy weight, if you can visualize yourself being loving and active and successful, and continue to share that type of thought and experience with yourself, then it will get seated into a belief system, and then all you need to do is step back and let it actualize and appreciate every moment, because every moment is a gift.
I love it. Visualize, believe, and it will turn to actual, which is reality. So then actualize. I believe in that as well. Thank you again for being here. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And next week on the show, Akash Patel will be here. Do me a favor, go to youtube.com, type in the name Jaime Kulaga. Please subscribe to my channel. Go to iTunes, type in my name as well, and subscribe to our iTunes. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching the Dr. Jaime Show episode this week. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Do me a favor and subscribe to me on iTunes and YouTube. And of course, please give me some feedback on the show. Looking forward to reading it.